Hello and welcome to Commodity Champions. I'm Isha Mehta, and we are talking about focus is on drink that many Indians wake up to, and that's tea. India currently produces 30% of the world's supply, and nearly 80% of this is being consumed within the country itself. Demand for tea was high domestically last year, with a total of 1.1 billion kgs of tea consumed within India. The hot beverage also got a healthy tag following the pandemic, which has only spurred demand further. This demand trend only promises to get stronger with the upcoming winter months. However, in the face of growing demand, smaller players have continued their domination that began nearly 2 decades ago, held by government support. This has left larger producers asking for a level playing field. With the global tea market estimated to grow to $229.3 billion in 2022 and exports at a high, the opportunity is only growing for both all tea producers. So what's the outlook for the sector, and what more can be done to support the sector that employs almost 10 million people? To discuss that and much more, I am now joined by Bala Sarda. He's founder and CEO at Vahdam Teas. Bala, hi, good to have you. And, as winter demand comes in, or winter season kicks in, that is, there are a few things that the markets look out for. One is the wedding season, and another is the tea and coffee demand that is expected to surge up. While, of course, we have seen the tea demand continuing up from urban and rural India as well, it is all about the made in India tea that also seems to be doing quite well. Among all of this, what is the pattern that you're looking at when you look back at 2022?
Thanks, Manisha, for having me on the show once again. Absolutely. I think, like you said, the winter season is a great time for a business like ours. We definitely see a lot of growth, given the winter months, the onset of, colder days across the nation, primarily North India. And of course, things like, air pollution, which increases the need for immunity-based drinks. So there is a definite demand jump we are seeing as we speak. And of course, we hope to see that growing over the next few months as the peak of the winters hits us. That said, I think on a global level, of course, India, as you know, grows most of the teas exported out in the world. Almost 25 to 30% of the world's production is made in India. And a lot of the quality stuff from India, the 20% you just said, which is not consumed in India, is all exported to global markets. There, of course, due to multiple reasons, while I think the midterm demand looks extremely positive, things are growing, people are moving towards wellness beverages, including tea. I think in the short term, after the peak of the COVID season, secondly, other factors like the war in Ukraine, the inflationary pressures we are seeing, right? US, of course, as you know, the NASDAQ is at its all-time low. I says, basis that, I think the overall spend, on products like these, we are seeing some pressure in demand relative to last year. But I think, like I said, that's only a short-term phenomena. And I think in the midterm and the long term, I think, we continue to see a large movement of consumers towards, wellness teas. And of course, I think it's India's decade. So, a lot of made in India brands are poised to take opportunity of that. And of course, we are obviously working hard every day to sort of, move forward.
Fair point. I will come to, segments and categories there as well. But I do want to know, as you said, that there is a bit of a pressure when you look at demand on an year-on-year basis. How are these numbers looking like? Overall tea market and then specialty teas, premium teas. How have you seen the growth and price movement for these?
I think, Manisha, overall, given there was a disproportionate spike, we saw in wellness teas. I'm talking about the specialty and wellness teas, which people were consuming at home due to the pandemic. In 22, from an overall category perspective, we are seeing a decline year on year. But that said, like I said, it's just averaging out the disproportionate growth which happened for a year or two. But like I said, right, I think starting January, February, we see the growth to get back on track, and we plan to obviously take advantage of that.
And is this trend only Indian, or is it a global trend as well? And how would you look at both of the globally and India buying trends now? Is it still about the normal basic tea, or do you think people are spending more on premium teas right now? Is it more about the wellness teas? How are people buying? What are the trends?
I think, Manisha, the one thing you can't reverse is the consumer's understanding of how some of these teas help you live a much better lifestyle. And I think that's what the pandemic has done for ourselves. So like I said, I think there is a there is a massive shift, while of course macro numbers, can sort of fluctuate given the disproportionate spike 2 years back. But I think if you look at from a category specific perspective, I think there is phenomenal improvement and growth in categories. And we see that happening, year on year, because what we are fundamentally seeing is that, the consumers who were consuming tea for leisure versus the consumers, who are now, consuming teas for wellness benefits. I think the latter has, of course, gone up significantly. And that's really the audience, the millennials who are more concerned about their health. That's exactly what we are trying to cater to as a brand, be it in India, be it in global markets like the US. And there, of course, I think we see a lot of positive movements. And I think brands and companies which will continue to innovate and make products for these consumers and stay true to their vision, I think, they will continue to grow even in the midterm.
Bala, I was reading certain reports, and they suggest that the Indian premium tea is expected to grow at a CAGR of 4.2% until 2027. I mean, that's a very strong number, really, and the market clearly seems to be talking in billions of dollars when you look at the global market here. So what are we looking at? More innovation, more adoption of tea? I mean, winter is just an example, because there are iced teas and there are dessert teas now, and there is various innovations that we've seen come into this market. So when you look at an year-on-year overall growth in overall categories, how does that look like to you?
No, I think Manisha looks extremely positive.
Okay.
I think there are two things which are driving this, and I think companies who need to sort of continue to capture market share, I think we'll have to continue to execute on that. One, of course, is innovation. Like I said, the tea category is not what it was, say, 10 years back.
Okay.
Consumers of tomorrow, the millennial consumers, are open to experimentations. They want new flavors. They want new ingredients. They want the products which help them live a better lifestyle. So I think innovating around that space continues to be an extremely, extremely critical part of our journey as well. And we continue to have a strong pipeline of products we are launching over the next few months to continue to sort of be that brand who caters to the millennial consumer. I think the second would be experience. I think with the pandemic setting up, the onset of the pandemic 2 years back, I think, of course, for a brand like ours and several brands, I think, experience obviously took a hit. Horeca, having your own stores, a lot of those things you could not do the way you can now do it again. So I think, how do you bring experience to tea? Be it in your home, be it in the hotel, be it in a restaurant you go to. I think that's, of course, is going to be very, very critical. And we, of course, plan to focus on that. Probably have our own experience stores coming up very soon, which is in 2023. Our first experience store, we plan to open that in 23, which will again help us, gain hopefully a larger share of this growing specialty tea market.
Bala, you were also part of the Oscar goodie bag. You've expanded in US and Canada as well. How has that experience been?
No, Manisha, I think that was, phenomenal. I think more than we being in the Oscar goodie bag, I think I was very proud of the fact that an Indian brand was in the Oscars goodie bag. In fact, we were also in the Emmys goodies bag after the Oscars. So I think absolutely proud moment, not only for me as somebody leading this brand, but also as an Indian. And I think, like I keep saying, I think it's India's decade. You will see many more brands in this category and several other categories come out from India, over the next few years.
And there's a tea-based beer coming in, Bala.
Thank you.
Bala, I was saying that there's a tea-based beer as well coming in. I mean, is there any category, any segment that you're looking which can be left alone?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry, I didn't hear that, Manisha. So, no, of course we did. We did a very interesting partnership with Bira recently. We had teas, we had beverages you can consume till evening, probably night as well. Now, with the beer, we had something we can consume after 8 p.m. as well. But I think on a serious note, like I said, how do you target the millennial consumer who has a very, very balanced approach to everything they do, which means they do have some other beverages as well. And how do you bring bring an experience, new flavors in their lives, right? And that's why we said, let's partner with Bira and do something very interesting in this space. And we will continue to do such collaborations and partnerships to expand this top funnel of consumers who are looking to consume specialty teas from a brand like ours.
So, Bala, what is the specialty tea market share as of now that you see in India and outside as well? And the point two is there price sensitivity into the market yet?
Manisha, I think I may not have the exact numbers, but I think we continue to, of course, grow well as a business and, continue to capture a relatively larger share of the specialty tea business in whichever market we are in as a brand. And I think, with some focused initiatives around the wellness space, taking superfood ingredients like turmeric, ashwagandha, moringa, I think, that will further help us, grow in this space over the next 3 to 5 years.
All right. Any number that you want to throw at us? At what kind of a growth are you anticipating next 3 to 5 years?
I think we are targeting a double-digit, of course, a high double-digit growth percentage as a business. I think, like I said, this year was an anomaly given, and the kind of recession and inflationary pressures we are seeing as a business in the US and Europe. But like I said, we are building a brand for the long term, and I think over the next 3-4 years, 5 years rather, I think we see strong double-digit growth coming, just basis, the kind of growth we are seeing in the market as well. So,
I want to squeeze in one last question. Do you see a lot of price sensitivity into the market right now, given the fact that there are concerns with recession in?
There is.
There is. Okay.
There is, Manisha. So I think, and I'll talk to you about a market like America, and I think that's very fair as well, right? It's really when, times like these hit, and I think we have seen it historically, the 2008 financial housing crisis. I think it happened then. Then, of course, we saw it in the first couple of months of COVID. Of course, we were in the wellness category, so that recovered fairly quickly. And I think the similar trend we are seeing, right now, given there is there is definite recession which is coming up in some of these markets.
Okay.
But like I said, I think the consumer is being slightly cautious about their spend. But that said, I think a large percentage of our consumers continue to sort of buy from us, buy larger amounts, given wellness and the theme of wellness. That's one category you don't sort of really pull back your spend from. In fact, your spends tend to go up,
increase.
In times like these, right? So when you're more stressed, so like I said, in our business also, if you see the breakup, the more traditional categories like black teas, we would see a demand pressure there. But when you look at categories like herbal teas, green teas, wellness teas, we continue to see strong growth despite the recession in these markets.
Oh, well, that point is well taken. Piping hot onto that one. So while a bit of a dent when it comes to global markets because of price sensitivity there, but clearly innovations and wellness, lifestyle benefits is something that will keep the tea market on the higher side. Bala, thank you so much for joining us with that. It's time for a short break. But coming up, we turn our focus to gourmet and luxury teas in a chat with Isha Mehta, founder of Satori Tea. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching Commodity Champions. We now shift our focus to gourmet and luxury teas. The segment that currently makes up for nearly 5% of the total tea market is witnessing a rise in popularity. So how are the players capitalizing on this trend? Joining me now to discuss that and more is Isha Mehta. She's founder at Satori Tea. Isha, hi. Good to have you. From an everyday beverage to the cutting chai on the street side to occasions and corporate gifting to luxury to desserts to cocktails to blends. There's so much that tea has really done in last few years. How do you look at the market? One, how has the growth been and adoption as well?
Hi, Manisha. Thank you for having me. So with luxury tea, there's definitely a sense of curiosity and willingness and openness from customers today. They want to try new things. They want to have different experiences. India produces some of the finest loose leaf teas, most of which have always been exported. But now you're seeing a slight change where consumers are seeking to have these experiences. Hojicha, for instance, one of our green teas, we thought it would be difficult to push this particular tea in the Indian market, but surprisingly, it's doing really well. And it's a fitting example to see how the consumer is evolving and is looking to try new experiences and different flavor profiles.
Absolutely. You know, Isha, as Bala was also suggesting, that the Make in India tea really seems to be doing well. I mean, for the longest time, we've been exporting good quality teas. But how strong is, procuring sustainability, those aspects coming within the tea market too?
So the orthodox tea industry in India, where I refer to the loose leaf teas and not CTC teas, is a relatively small scale market industry. And it is struggling, but there is definitely a demand for it. And brands such as ours, niche brands, are trying to bring these about to Indian consumers themselves and create awareness that we do make good quality teas. But with Indians, it's a struggle where there's relatively lack of awareness within the orthodox tea market. And if the same teas were to be packaged by an international tea brand and then come, people would be interested and pick that up. But this used to be 5 years ago. Now there's a big change in this.
Absolutely. Also, while of course tea is an everyday thing, but tea really seems to have gotten into the gifting part of it as well. So whether it's about corporate gifting, you talk about the wellness aspect of it, the various blends that tea has seen come into the foray as well. How do you see that market doing going forward?
So gifting is where majority of the sales happen when it comes to tea. Consumers today are more mindful and conscious when they do give a gift or receive a gift. Wedding favors are a big one, where bride and grooms today even take that extra step where they'd like to create a unique blend just for the specific occasion. So gifting, hands down, tea is like the first thing people want to go to.
All right. So, when you look at millennials, or as you said, it's about weddings, it's about corporate gifting, where tea really seems to be inching up on the ranks there. So what are the major buyers here? And also what geographies for you within India seem to be doing better?
So with regards to gifting, it's festivals, occasions. Usually they come from metros, but we are seeing a slight change from tier 2 cities as well, with repeat purchases and inquiries for bulk orders and gifting. So like I mentioned earlier, that awareness is growing, curiosity is growing, and that need to want to experiment new flavors is definitely there within the Indian market.
There is a thing about procurement and traceability as something that the millennials really seem to be following up on. So when it comes to tea, where are we within that?
So I'd speak for a brand such as mine. Satori focuses on promoting specifically Indian origin teas. We source them directly from the estates themselves. And we also promote local produce, local ingredients, where we use these local ingredients to blend the teas without using any artificial flavoring, which sort of is transparent in itself. It's sustainable. We are in touch with the farmers, or we work with farmer cooperatives who guide the entire process to ensure that there's transparency.
Isha, also, what blends do you work with? What is the market looking at? What is the kind of feedback when it comes to tea as an industry on what is the consumer looking for?
So the Indian consumer definitely seems to love blends. It's always a go-to compared to just the tea in itself, because it seems more enticing and exciting to try a combination of things. But there is also the consumer who is known to tea, like who understands tea in the deeper sense, how coffee is already very known and understood. So there is a balance between the two, but definitely blends would always win.
There have been various reports suggesting that when it comes to tea growers, 51% of the market really belongs to small tea collaborators and small tea growers instead of the brands. That brand number seems to be going down now. With so many more people now coming within the tea business, is it increasing competition for you as well, or do you think there's enough space for everybody?
Definitely. So when we started off, there were very few brands within this space. It's been about 5 years now, and there's been an influx of I can't even name the number. Before I could have them on my fingertips. Now there's been an influx of so many brands that have come together. Some that specifically only focus on gifting itself. So yeah, the competition is increasing.
Okay. Also, Isha, you know, the whole trend seems to be changing. There are tea coffees, cafes, tea lounges, and then there is online sales. And as you said, there are some startups who only want to do tea gifting, only want to be in that category. What do you think on how the market is evolving and where are we headed?
I feel that there is demand for having experiences like Bala also spoke about earlier. To create tea experience zones or tea experience spaces, which help people to connect with themselves in the larger sense. And sorry, could you repeat your question? I just forgot the latter part.
I was asking on how do you look at the market going forward from here? On what do you think will sustain, will stay on?
Definitely experiences, to create these experiences to help people understand better. Coffee has already dominated it. Coffee culture is well known and well understood, but tea in itself is unexplored, and there's so much more that tea has to offer in itself. Be it tea tasting sessions, tea meditations, just understanding the product in its authentic self itself. So yes.
All right, tea tasting sessions I had heard of, tea meditation I hadn't, so clearly a lot more happening when it happens on tea. Thank you so much, Isha, for joining us, and that's all about the tea, piping hot clearly as our experts tell us. But with that, that's all that we have on this edition of Commodity Champions. Thank you for watching.